welcome to the wonderful world of dodgy movies. I'm your host, movie and TV Mistress. This week, I watched Biggles.
You've had the correct time.
It's 11:16 exactly.
Must be a mistake. It should have happened by now.
Let's move! Do you want to be a hero? I'm James Bigglesworth. My friends call me Biggles.
Jim Ferguson.
Come on!
Hey, what the hell am I doing here? What's going on? You mean that was 1917?
Time travel is not unknown in history.
Why me?
I think Biggles is your time twin.
You again?
I want some answers.
Quick, untie us! Get us out of here before they start realizing you're not a god, you're just an American.
This is getting crazier, you know.
Debbie, stay away. You gotta stay away.
Come on, Ferguson!
I told you, I keep going back to 1917. Where'd you come from?
I have no idea.
It's that hole in time. It keeps happening to me.
Apparently, the hole in time goes both ways. It opens when one or the other is in mortal danger.
Do you want to be a hero? Let's show the sausage guzzler what this thing can do.
What do you say?
Say, let's kick some ass.
Biggles, the adventure begins one step back in time.
So, Biggles, or as it's also known, Biggles Adventures in Time. Biggles is a 1988 film starring Neil Dixon and Alex Hyde White. Now, Neil Dixon is an English actor, and of course he's playing Biggles. I knew him from a one series, possibly more, show called She-Wolf of London in the 90s. He was kind of like the Giles character to a werewolf lady, hence She-Wolf of London. So yeah, he plays Biggles, and it's based on the W.E. Johns books, Biggles, except it's not. It's the 80s, time travel is a thing, and I guess somebody had the rights to the books about Biggles. And somebody went, yeah, but nobody really wants to watch a World War II film about some 4 RAF pilots called Biggles, Ginger, Bertie and Algie. So let's add a time travel element. Yeah, because, you know, that makes sense. How is there a time travel element in this? Peter Cushing does try and explain people who are linked through time, like, I guess, soulmates. Biggles' time buddy is a character called Jim Ferguson, who happens to work for a, I guess, advertising firm promoting celebrity TV dinners. You know, those things that you'd stick in the oven and that were frozen and were in a tray, and you just pull them out and then you'd eat them from the tray because you were lazy and you didn't put them on a plate. That nobody does anymore, but that was a big deal in the 50s and up until about, I guess, the mid-80s. How do you bring World War II, a 1988 TV dinner guy together, randomly, out of nowhere, Jim Ferguson travels back in time? Yeah, just random. No reason for it. They say there's a reason later on in the movie, but, you know, there's really no reason. He just turns up and goes, what the hell am I doing in this plane? Yeah, what the hell are you doing in a film about Biggles? When you learn a bit about the history of this film and the whole production behind it and how it got made, it does make sense what happened, but I grew up watching this film. The music is brilliant, and it's written and performed by John Anderson. Every time I watch this film, that tune just gets stuck in my head. I can hear it right now. But yeah, John Anderson did the music. They do have a couple of other bits in here of music from Deep Purple and Motley Crue. Another song that's very synthesized called Chocks Away, again by John Anderson, so seems to be heavily influenced by John Anderson's music. But basically, Biggles is doing his usual stuff in World War II with his mates, flying around trying to stop the Nazis, specifically a character called Hauptmann Erich von Stahlheim. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. With the help of time travel and a helicopter from 1988 with a large speaker on it, they end up destroying a major weapon of mass destruction that is a sound weapon that basically destroys things and makes them all white. So they basically create a feedback loop with that sound through the speaker of the helicopter and then destroy the machine that is going to be a weapon of mass destruction. So that's the plot. In between, we have elements of Indiana Jones. We also have elements of King Solomon's Mines. It feels a bit like they've taken elements of King Solomon's Mines and Indiana Jones and a bit of the time travel element, I guess, of Back to the Future, but it's more like, I don't know, Quantum Leap, but without body swapping. I mean, it's very funny, and it's very sweet that we finally did get a movie, at least one movie, inspired by W.E. John's books about Biggles in World War II. Unfortunately, by the time this film got made, I don't know any kids that actually read the books. I'm aware, and I do remember Blue Peter making a big deal about this back in 1988, about Biggles finally coming to the big screen, and really, it was never part of the reading program at school. I remember we had to read Stig of the Dump, and that being a TV thing, but like Biggles, I guess it's like the Famous Five and all those Enid Blyton books. They're of a certain generation, and unfortunately, by the time 1988 came around, it kind of missed the generation that it was aimed at. I mean, as I say, I grew up with it, I enjoyed it for what it was, I like time travel, but the problem with this film is that it doesn't quite know what to be. And really, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think Biggles probably deserves to have a proper movie or a TV series, probably based on the amount of books there are, made about him. But unfortunately, I don't think there's anybody around who knows the books and is willing to watch something about World War II and the random adventures of some RAF pilots who are a bit upper class. Whenever I think of RAF pilots, I end up thinking of Armstrong and Miller and their RAF men's sketch.
I bought some really nice trousers in Camden.
Yeah?
They's well hardcore with all pockets and shit.
You're going to wear them in the plane when you're doing fighting and this and that?
You know what?
What, blood?
I isn't allowed or something.
No way.
For sure. They ain't uniform or something. I can only wear uniform. This is me. There's awesome trousers, man. This is them.
Because that's funny. I don't know if Biggles, Ginger, Bertie and Algie are as funny as they could be. But again, as I say, I don't know anything about the books. I just thought somebody went, yeah, Biggles isn't going to work, add time travel to it, make it sci-fi. No, this film had been in development since 1968. James Fox was tapped to play Biggles. Yep. And even appeared in promotional material. But then the film was cancelled. Walden had the idea of creating a series of Biggles films, the same format as James Bond. Brilliant idea. I have no problem with that because, you know, there's plenty of books and material for Biggles to continue doing something just like James Bond. The problem is James Bond is timeless in that it can be set in any time. It's about a spy doing spy stuff. Biggles really isn't timeless. The characters in Biggles are very particular of their period. They are particular of the World War II, the upper crust, stiff upper lip, posh, you know. I can't speak the way that they do. I'm trying to think, but you know, it's very.
Oh, hello.
That.
Want to go flying? Let's go. Chop chop.
Exactly. It doesn't work as a James Bond type feature where you could make multiple sequels unless you change the characters' names from what they were and then they're not British and you bring it up to date and you just make them pilots. And then it's not Biggles. I think this one-off flash in the pan, as you would say, movie about Biggles with his characters being brought into the 80s with the help of Peter Cushing, bringing that whole Star Wars element, because, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin telling everyone how to do their stuff and explaining and being Mr. Exposition. And besides, as I said, the production company was partially funded by Hammer Films, and who's from Hammer? Why, that would be Peter Cushing. I'm just glad that he probably wasn't wearing fluffy slippers on the set like he did in Star Wars, because the boots didn't fit. I really enjoy this film. It's pure cheese, it's pure 80s, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was an interesting way of trying to bring it to an audience and say, look, this can apply to you now. The problem is, if you did that, you would have to continue it. So it would become basically a series of films about Biggles and his time buddy, and it is left open with a cliffhanger ending with his time buddy, Jim Ferguson. So Jim and Biggles would be intrinsically linked and you'd be flashing back and forth. So, I mean, you could do it if you continue to do that, but the film wasn't as successful as they'd hoped. So I recommend it, but, you know, I'm weird, so. And plus, it's got Peter Cushing in it. You can't go wrong with Peter Cushing, the Grand Moff Tarkin himself of Star Wars. If only Princess Leia had a gun when she came face to face with him and smelt his foul stench. So, till next week, folks, I'm Movie and TV Mistress. Remember, hit that subscribe button, comment down below, hit the thumbs up if you liked, or thumbs down, and hit that notification bell. And as I always say, there's a lot of dodgy movies out there, and I watch a hell of a lot of them. Bye.